You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. Bitcoin, Ether, Solana, DOGE, and more. Cryptocurrencies and digital assets are taking the financial world by storm. This exploding market provides everything a savvy trader needs: volatility, volume, and liquidity, provided you know how to find it. That's where we come in. Welcome to the Crypto Rundown. Each week, we'll break down the latest trading activity, trends, and developments throughout the world's leading crypto derivatives markets. If it's moving the crypto markets, then you'll find it on the Crypto Rundown. The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. Now it's time to dive into the exploding world of crypto derivatives. It's time for the Crypto Rundown.
All right, everybody, that music means we are back. It is Monday. It is the first Monday of 2026. Time to kick off a brand spanking new year in the markets and indeed in all things crypto. My name, of course, Mark Longo from the optionsinsider.com, as well as from the network upon which all of you folks are mainlining these days. Hope you had a great 2025. If you want a good look back on all things crypto and derivatives and vol from the year that was 2025, check out the last show if you missed it. Greg and I went deep into all that fun, the top trades, the trends, the things that really stood out to us from a mad year in crypto. So by all means, check out that show. And of course, check out our friends over there at Amber Data. They do bring you this show at the end of the day. Check out all the sponsors on the network to kick off the new year. It's a great way to keep that content well flowing to you throughout the year. That is 2026 as we approach our 20th anniversary on the air next year. Wild to say that stuff out loud. And of course, if you want some extra fun in your life, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more. That'll get you access to awesome pro Q&As like our good buddy Mr. Rich Excel, tackling all your questions tomorrow. He's been known to tackle some crypto in the past, including a lot about Solana. So get in there with your Qs. Also, if you like crypto, then you like a little bit of vol. And the Vol Deathmatch 2.0 is coming up. Scott Nations versus the Flowmaster. 2 men will enter the arena. Only one can leave. Who will it be? You got to check that out over there on the Pro. The optionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go as we kick off our first Bitcoin breakdown of 2026.
It's time to explore the latest trending activity, trends, and developments across the world's leading crypto market. It's time for the Bitcoin Breakdown.
All right, everybody, let's get down to business here on the Bitcoin Breakdown to kick off the new year. Will it be a wild one? I guess we'll find out. Starting off pretty robust, listeners. We're seeing Bitcoin right now looking a wee bit higher than it was this time last week. We ended the year down in Bitcoin, listeners, sub 90K. Back north of that this week. We were at 87,439 on the show with Greg last week. This week, 94,191. It's up nearly 7,000 handles on the week, 67.52 to be precise. So a banger out of the gate. It's kind of strong across the board. All the markets really seem like they got the bit in their teeth. Everyone had some cash on the sidelines. They're putting it back to work today. Will that persist throughout the year? Well, I guess we'll find out, listeners. Weirdly enough, we're almost exactly where we were to start the year last year. We started the year last year 93,462. So you're talking not that far away. So interesting. After all of that Sturm and Drang last year in the crypto market, BTC kind of unched, which is, again, kind of wild. Also, certainly heats up that debate about, is Bitcoin digital gold? And look at gold last year. Gold's certainly not in the same place it was to start the year, but Bitcoin pretty much hanging out right there. So wild stuff out there. If you want a little bit of a nugget, though, we did sell off to almost 75,000, 76,200 in that ballpark on April 8th. So clearly above that level if you want a little bit of glass half full love for all you hodlers out there. Let's fire up the old Amber Data machine, Amber Data, AMBERDATA.io, the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. If you did that, listeners, you would see that the weekly vol is looking a little bit spicier to start the year. We're at about 37.25 on the show last week, up almost 4 points, 44 even right now. So again, getting a little bit spicier to start the new year. That is the same trend on the monthly vol as well, 39.75 on the show. Last week, 43.25. This week's up 3.5 points on the 30-day vol. And for fun, let's go out and see what the hodlers are up to, listeners. 44.8 on the show last week on the 6-month vol. This week, 45.6. So getting juicier across the board, listeners. What's going on with the skew? Well, we are rallying, so you might be forgiven for expecting that skew to look a wee bit less negative than it has been for, the last month and change. And that is indeed the case. Weekly skew, negative 2.2 on the show last week, negative 1 exactly this week. So not quite positive, but swinging in that direction, listeners. 30-day skew, negative 3.55 on the show last week. Negative 1.75, so pretty much cutting that negative skew in half. And then the 180-day skew, listeners, where the hodlers hang. Negative 3.25 on the show last week. Negative 2.65 this week. Let's get out some of the products you folks love to sling. In fact, we talked about it on the show last week. IBIT, very much the story of the Bitcoin derivatives year last year. It really just took the bit in his teeth and never let go, listeners. IBIT is the champ out there in terms of volume, in terms of interest, in terms of bringing new players to the game, new kids to the yard. IBIT is doing all of that. It's one of the reasons we said on the show last week, one of the reasons why this skew is really starting to evolve. It's not just the hodlers anymore. It's not just the folks coming in, buying and holding on for dear life. As the kids say, no, there's folks coming in looking to generate yield now, which is one of the reasons why that upside call skew has turned a wee bit negative and probably will hang out in that realm for a little while. And of course, why the put wing getting a little bit juicier out there also could be a little bit top heavy baked in there as well. So a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. But getting some of that love back this week, listeners. IBIT 53.60 when we kicked off the show. Up a whopping 4 points exactly from where it was on the show last week. So again, IBIT getting the bit in its teeth, also starting to come back to life on the volume front. Remember, it was threatening VIX, threatening 1 million contracts a day, coming off that a bit now. But of course, VIX has come off that 1 million contracts a day level too. They're both hanging out right around 750,000. IBIT today, 769,000 is the ADV. That's up 39,000 from this time last week. So again, coming back to life on the volume front as well. Today, already 660,000 contracts on the tape with about an hour to go in the day. So a good chance they could hit, if not exceed, that ADV. By the way, if you're wondering what's going on the vol front in IBIT, we are looking at about exactly a 43, listeners. Puts it up a few points from where it was this time last week. All right. Out to the realm of IBIT paper today. What is lighting it up out there in IBIT? Well, we're rallying today. So you'd be forgiven for thinking, you know what? IBIT is all calls all the time. That is the case. It is the Jan doubles, the Jan 55s, changing hands today 33, almost 34,000 times already. Average price for these about 90 cents. So you like that, listeners? These are expiring, by the way, not this week, but these are traditional monthly Jan. So interesting. Getting a couple weeks for your money out there. You like that for 90 cents, listeners? Or would you say sold to you? Take that upside and run. Number 2, we got about 30,000 of the Jan 47 puts. By the way, let's look really quickly. It's always fun to see what is open for size out there in the options right now. More so than just what's lighting it up today. We want to see what folks really have on. And it looks like right now, the number 1 size position in IBIT options. Can you guess? I'll give you a couple seconds to guess, listeners. 3, 2, 1. It is the Jan 43 puts. 120, almost 121,000 of those are open right now, listeners. So interesting. Did you have that on your bingo card? Would you be a seller or a buyer of those Jan 43 puts? By the way, it looks like the lion's share of those were opened back on December 17th, listeners. That was back when IBIT was $48.63. Looks like a lot of them traded in the 80 to 82 cent range. Like paper might have been buying these, listeners, in which case they are wearing it to the downside, at least for right now. We'll keep an eye on those and see how those go out, listeners. Jan 43 puts. They're trading for a whopping 6 cents today, so let's hope for their sake that they actually sold them, listeners. Let's keep going out to Mara rallying today as well. $10.50 when we kicked off the show, up about $1.10, putting up 213,000 contracts today. So a hot day in Maryland. The ADV is 235,000. It's down about 6,000 still from our last show. What is the hot option in Maryland right now? 16,000 of the 11 calls expiring this Friday. Listen, average price for these about 20 cents. You know what? Let's run the same analysis for our good buddy Mara here as well. Let's just see what is the size position as we're kicking off the new year. Let's get the lay of the land. Let's get a sense of what people are up to out here. And the size position in Mara right now, look like these have maybe been open for a little bit. These are the Jan 18s, listeners. Again, we're hanging out about almost this rallied a bit since the show started. 1060 right now in Mara, but still a long way to go to the 18 handle, listeners. It's like a lot of these were open back on November 3rd and November 4th when Mara was hanging out between 1660 and 1780. Prices around $2.25 to $3. If you bought these, a bit of an ouchie right now, listeners. Funky stuff out here. But speaking of funky stuff, listeners, it is time to explore the altcoin universe for the first time in 2026.
It's time to move beyond Bitcoin and find out what's moving the rest of the crypto marketplace. It's time to boldly venture into the altcoin universe.
All right, everybody, welcome to the altcoin universe, the portion of the show where we dive deep into all things beyond the big dog, which is BTC, except for right now when we break down the top 10. And at the end of our show last week, pretty much the end of the year last year, it cost you right around $12.75 billion to break into the top 10. It got you to our old pal Cardano. What does it cost you this week? Well, quite a bit more, nearly $15 billion to break into the top 10, $14.98 billion to break into the top 10. That is quite the resurgence out there, listeners. That gets you to our old pal Cardano yet again. Number 9 is DOGE, $25.5 billion. Number 8 is Tron, $27.6 billion. Number 7, USD Coin, $75.6 billion. Number 6, it's Solana, $77.8 billion. Number 5 is BNB, $125.5 billion. Number 4, XRP, $137.7 billion. Number 3, it's Tether, $187 billion. Number 2, it's ETH, $388. And the big dog BTC, looking a lot bigger this week, $1.88 trillion worth of market cap. Let's get out now to number 2 out there. Maybe it's still number 2 in a lot of your hearts, or maybe once again you've been burned too many times. It's like a spurned lover. You can't deal with it anymore, listeners. Yeah, we're talking about ETH. Looking a little bit more robust this week. So if you gave up on it at the end of 2025, you left a little bit on the table ETH's up nearly 300 handles this week, 282 handles from 29.34 on the show last week to 32.16. So a nice little pop, roughly 10% close to it from where we were on the show last week. So not a bad little run here for ETH. Can it continue the momentum, or is that all she wrote? We shall find out. By the way, ETH kicked off the year last year 33.32. So once again, kind of within spitting distance of where it was a year ago. Just think of all the living we did in ETH over the past year, listeners. The lowest of lows, the highest of highs, and then back to the lowest of lows again. You do need a psychologist if you trade a lot of ETH out there, listeners. But can we maintain it? In fact, that is the subject of our crypto question of the week. We will get to those results, what you folks think, in a little bit. Let's get out to the vol right now. Once again, fire up the Amber Data widget pro.amberdata.io, listeners. You fire up the 7-day vol in ETH, you'd see it's getting a little bit spicier out there as well. 53.2 on the show last week, 59.2 this week, so up exactly 6 points. Hanging out where the more standardized folks like to play, the 30-day vol, 59.25 on the show last week, 59.75 this week, so up about half a point. And going out to Hodler territory, 64.3 on the show last week, 64.1 this week. So kind of treading water on the Hodler front. Going out to the skew, the skew. If you just looked at the skew, listeners, you'd think maybe all was right, or starting to get right at least, with ETH, especially on the weekly skew. It's positive. When's the last time we saw a positive skew in ETH? My goodness, it's been a while. It's been since that big run-up a few months back, listeners. The weekly skew was negative 2.25 on the show last week. Positive 0.25. Now, it's not much, but I think the bulls will take what they can get out there right now. Positive 0.25, listeners. 30-day skew, negative 3.25 last week, negative 1.25 this week. So popping 2 points. Almost flat, dare I say it, listeners. And going out to where the Hodlers hang out, negative 1.2 last week, negative 1 this week. So not much evolution on the long-term skew front. Let's keep rolling out some other products you folks love to trade, including our good buddy Greg. He's about as big a fan of this name as I know. It's Circle, 85.10 when we kicked off the show today, up $4.60 from where it was this time last week, putting up about 53,000 contracts when we kicked off the show. The ADV is nearly 100,000, 98,000. Down about 7,000 from this time last week, so it doesn't seem like it's going to get there today, but we shall see. 30-day vol at about a 71, up about 5 points. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit juicier out there, Circle could be your huckleberry. Now it's come well off those vol levels it was a few months ago when it was just absolutely absurd, and the skew levels were absolutely absurd, but still potentially intriguing for a lot of you out there. If you're wondering what is the hot option out there right now in Circle, it is nearly 5,000 of the 80 puts, so we're going to the downside, going up about 4,700 times. Looks like paper might be selling these for about 80 cents. That is an opening play, listeners. So you like that? You like drawing a line in the sand? 80 cents for the 80 puts going out this week, this Friday, listeners. Is that enough return on capital for you? You are drawing a somewhat expensive line in the sand there, but maybe you want to buy a little bit of Circle, pretty close to where it was trading on the show last week. The number 2, we got 4,200 of the 97 calls, so going the other way. These are trading for about 41 cents. So if you wanted to do that collar, the 80-97 collar, it would still cost you some money if you bought the put. If you sold put and bought call, you could still pocket a little bit of money out there. So again, kind of reflecting what the skew is up to out there. Also, obviously, a lot closer to the 80 strike than we are the 97 strike. Maybe like the 90s better, number 3. Those are traded 3,200 times today for about $1.40. So if you want to do, we're at about an 85 right now. If you want to do the 80-90 risk reversal, listeners, you want to sell put and buy call, it's going to cost you money. That's kind of interesting. It's going to cost you about almost 60 cents, 59 cents, listeners. Flip side, if you want to buy put and sell call, well, there you go. You're going to collect about 60 cents. So you got a little bit of a credit there. So a little bit of a bid to the upside, at least for right now, on that skew in all things circles. Let's run the same analysis really quick as well. Might be something fun to do, maybe quarterly, certainly mid-year, beginning of the year, end of the year. See what's going on, what people have open for size in these big names. And Circle right now, the size options position and circle to kick off the new year, listeners. It's the Jan pars. Nearly 20,000 of those, 19,500 of the January 100 calls. Let's see. Looks like most of these were opened on November 17th. That's when a big chunk of them were opened, listeners. 85 par call spread. About 1,000 by 5,600 times ratio spread. Interesting stuff. That's why we crunched the numbers here. It looks like the first block went up 1,900 by 3,800. So 1 by 2, listeners. $9.28 on the 85s. $5.30 on the pars. Obviously doing that 1 by 2. So interesting little setup. Could have been a bit of a stock repair against a position, listeners, in which case, kind of intriguing. The stock at the time was $76.59. So that does kind of line up with a little bit more aggressive stock repair. Interesting stuff. You like that, listeners? Hit us up. Let us know. Let's hit up the rest of the altcoin universe. Then we'll get some thoughts you folks have on the pressing issues of the day. Solana coming back to life this week as well. 123.14 last week, 138 and about a quarter this week, up about $15.10 since our last show. XRP coming back to life quite a bit, actually. It was $1.86 on the show last week, $2.27 this week. I'll have to get Mr. Bill and, more importantly, his wife on the show. She'll be very excited. Up 41 cents since our last show. Obviously, a long way to go to revisit those highs of $3.65, but looking better than it did last week. DOGE, 12.3 cents last week, 15.1 cents this week, up a whopping 2.8 cents. Again, got a ways to go to hit its nearly 35 cents that it was at exactly a year ago, pretty much in January. I remember those heady days when Musk and Trump were still buddies and everyone was obsessed with Doge, and Doge reflected that in the price. Not quite there anymore. Litecoin, 83.79 this week, 77.85 last week, up nearly $6, $5.94 from last week. Its high was 129.93. Again, pretty much almost exactly a year ago, late January for that one. So ways to go for Litecoin to recover. Cardano, 35.6 cents last week, 41.6 cents this week, so up 6 cents on the week. This is another one that topped out almost exactly a year ago, January 16th, hit a high of $1.05, so obviously a ways to go to reclaim that level. Polkadot, $1.85 last week, $2.19 this week, up 34 cents on the week. This one topped out, ready for this, $10.67, also in January of last year, listeners. So this one needs to get out of bed, roughly 1/5 of what it was this time a year ago, listeners. And everyone's favorite, maybe you hate it, Shiba Inu, 1 million zeros, 728 last week. This week, 1 million zeros, 935. Roaring back to life, dare I say it. The hubcaps on the Shiba Lambos in play once again. This is another one that hit its high for the year about a year ago, and a few closer decimal points as well. So a few less zeros. We were looking at only 4 zeros versus 5 zeros this week, listeners. So what's a decimal point in change amongst friends, right, listeners? Speaking of friends, it is time to see what our friends have on the brain as we kick off our first full trading week of a brand new trading year.
You've got questions about crypto. Who doesn't? It's time to find out the answers to your crypto questions.
All right, let's get out some of our crypto questions, see what you folks have on the brain. Let's start in the chat as we like to do. Our good buddy Eth said, Mark did call, good buddy Eth, I apologize. Our good buddy Mr. Unlimited said, Mark did call the crypto pop-off to start the year. He said crypto usually does that, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think I did say something about that. We do usually get a lot of love to start the year. It seems like it's just a love fest out there across most of the assets out there today, in spite of, the events over the weekend and some lingering potential uncertainty in the near future. Folks are loving all the assets out there today, including crypto. So just bask in the love fest. Oh, they also said people don't live near amusement parks and roller coasters. They trade ETH. Yeah, you're not wrong. ETH was quite the roller coaster last year. Again, I'm hard pressed to think of another asset that delivered so many highs and so many lows in the same calendar year. Gold delivered the highs, others delivered the lows. I can't think of many assets that delivered both, let alone to the degree that ETH did, the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows in the same year. That might be some sort of dubious record, especially when you end the year back in the red. But let's get out to what you folks think out there. Follow us at Options if you're not doing so right now, listeners. Lots of fun stuff coming at you right now. A lot of fun stuff came at you last year. In fact, we broke a lot of it down in our 2025 year-end spectacular. Check it out if you missed it. All sorts of the hot issues of the year. We gave you all the results for all of them, including things like the strategic crypto reserve. Will Bitcoin be higher or lower? IBIT options, VIX options, you name it. Palantir versus NVIDIA. Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria. Broke it all down. Check that out if you haven't done so. Yet another reason why you should be subscribed to the full network. You're missing out on goodies like that. And right now, just went live right before the show started, listeners. It's our first crypto question of 2026. Very straightforward to start the year, kind of getting the lay of the land for you folks, getting the pulse. We say quite simply, will the major crypto assets, so you're talking the big boys, Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, the big dogs, will they end the year higher or lower? Very straightforward, no others, nothing like that. And right now, 60% of you in the early voting are saying higher. 40% saying lower. Looks like, of course, our good buddy, Mr. H. Delaquarius, one of our pro members, couldn't make it live, but he's always got to chime in when it's crypto, and he chimed in with much lower. That was not a choice. That is not an official choice, Mr. Age. But he's like Uncle Mike, a wee bit skeptical of all things crypto, I think, to put it mildly out there. So agree, disagree, get over there at Options, make your voice heard. We also right now have our first actual question of the week for the year. Again, kind of 10,000 foot level. Very simple, asking you right now, what are your trading or markets-oriented resolutions for the new year? And of course, write-ins are always welcome. Do you want to dial back, maybe reduce some of your positions in AI? Are you looking to maybe explore some global markets a little more? Get to know all things Kospi or whatever market of choice you have out there. Or maybe you want to trade some new option strategies or something else entirely. And right now, that third one is running away with it. Exactly 2/3, 66.7%, saying you want to trade some new option strategies in the new year. Is that you? Do you prefer maybe reducing some AI exposure? You want to start dipping your toes in international markets or something else entirely? At Options is the place to go to make your voice heard. And that music means we have to get on out of here, but don't worry, not done today. Back in about an hour to break down all the action on this hot day in the market. Is it a hot day on the Hot Options Report? Got to tune in to find out. I got a feeling it's going to be a banger, though. So stay tuned for that. Again, yet another reason why you should be subscribed to the full network. And of course, to kick off the new year, show all of our sponsors some love, including our friends over there at Amber Data, pro.amberdata.io. You literally can't beat the price. The GUI is free, and you sure as hell can't beat the crypto data. They have great stuff there. You're not going to find anywhere else. That's why we talk about them on the network so much. It's great stuff. pro.amberdata.io, the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. Head on over there, tell them we sent you. They'll be very happy to hear from you. Back again to wrap up our day on the Hot Options Report. Back again tomorrow. Going to tackle questions with our good buddy, Mr. Stay Vigilant himself. We're going to kick things off going across the pond on the European market brief. And then, of course, we'll be back for a double duty day. Say that 3 times fast. Double duty day for Options Bootcamp on Wednesday. So yet another reason you should be checking out the Pro. You'll get both of those episodes in your ear holes on Wednesday, as well as, of course, tomorrow's Pro Q&A, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. Then back again with all of the rest of our fun content until we're back again next Monday. Another episode of the Crypto Rundown. Stay safe out there, everybody.
The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.